Welcome to the RVA Returners Podcast, your weekly source for all things Final Fantasy TCG. See them off.
It's recording.
Well, guys, that was fun. We enjoyed your podcast. Shame you can't stick. Oh, we're definitely doing hugs.
All right, brother.
Hugs. Good job today, bud.
Thanks, man. Sorry.
Give me a hug.
It's
Across
okay.
the table? All right.
Yeah, it's okay. I'll never. I won't be upset. Oh, we're doing this. Oh,
Take it easy.
yeah,
Good
it's
night.
soft. You smell so good. Bring it in, Steven. I'm getting around the waist.
Give me the warm fuzzies on the
All right,
inside.
guys. Give us a
I'll
good
tell you.
podcast tonight.
Later, guys. Y'all be good.
Pleasure, fellas. Y'all
Be
have a
good.
good one. And welcome to the RVA Returners Podcast.
He almost got it.
He almost got it. I believe what our friend Steven was trying
I
to
was
say.
stuttering. I'm still having a very rough moment from my mishaps of the day. Thanks, Adam, with the remove.
Dude, I'm gonna put a meme where it's like Joe, and then it's like me behind him, like a spirit, like playing the Ramu.
Yeah, it's you. You did that.
Man, well, you too. Well, that was fun. But now that we're back for another episode of the RVA Returners Podcast, guys, I am your host, Chris Adams. With me, as always, is Adam Lane. That was a fun little conversation there. We actually just finished recording the second episode of the Fredericksburg Turks podcast. If you haven't listened to them yet, they're on their second episode. They are our neighbors to the north. Give them a like, give them a follow, subscribe to their YouTube. Some really good caliber players in that group. They kind of are the reason we're around. But, you know, it's good. They do good stuff, and we're on their newest episode. As clearly now, I'm just kind of rambling because we got a lot to talk about, dude. We've got a lot of stuff to talk about. This is our Gencon wrap up. I wish we could transport Andy Carmona, John Ciordia, and Eric Davis, and Cody Snodgrass in here with us to finish this second half of this. Because we're going to do our Gencon wrap up. We're going to talk about the LQ we had today. Then we're going to have, as you can see next to me, I've got my stack of polio blankets. We're going to have another little fireside chat about kind of some of the shortcomings of organized play that we
Just
noticed.
things that we'd like to see improve.
Yeah, and
it's getting better. Like we realize that this is pretty early on in the season.
It is. But some of the things are like, okay, you got to have a little bit more toughness, and I've seen that. But I guess we'll start with the Gencon wrap up. Well, where we left off when we were doing the first episode, we had the sealed, which you finished second, sealed Crystal Cup,
the first flight of
and the first flight of Constructed, which
you weren't in.
Myself and Cody did not play. So to pick up right there, Cody and I were in the second flight of Constructed of the Gencon Crystal Cup. I ended up going 4-2 in Swiss. I was on turbo discard. Pretty good. I caught my losses early. This one had about 40 people, like right around 40 people in it.
Yep.
So X and 2 made it in, which was good. I think one X and 3 made it in. I think it was one.
I can't remember. No. I
So they did.
so.
Okay.
I don't think so.
Well, anyway, I was on turbo. I caught a couple, I won my first game, lost my second game, which was to Hunter. Which we got some sweet revenge today, but he gave me a proper ranching in round 2. Then I lost my next round. I was like, oh man, it's been about a week, and we've had a lot of I've had a lot of stuff going on since then, so I kind of forgot the other matchups. Then I ended up winning out, making top 16 again. But then we had the. This is where we kind of discovered that, man, I think we might have been playing turbo wrong this whole time.
Yeah, it was funny the first day. No, was it the first day? It was either the first day or the day that you played. I remember I was looking around the tables, and I saw the Canadian guys have DGS people on the table, and I'm like,
yeah,
what
shout out
is
to
happening?
Jonathan and Jordan, man, really, really great guys. Thank you for listening to our podcast, by the way. But we didn't tell you this, but yeah, we were
at first I saw it and I was a bit confused, and then I saw that he was playing turbo with the DGS in there, and I'm like, man, that just doesn't seem as good.
It seems real loose.
And I was wrong, super wrong. As soon as I saw it being played, especially in the mirror, it has this long value game that the other deck doesn't have, and it can still get in your face early, really fast, just like our deck did. So I think it's just a better deck than what we had.
And it shows because Jordan Dank, I believe is his last name, Dank. I'm terrible with names.
Dink, yeah. D-E-N-K.
D-E-N-K. So Jordan, and he's the one who won this Crystal Cup. He also won the one in Toronto. Now, granted, he was on a different deck then.
He was on Mono Water.
He was on Mono Water. This DGS Turbo deck was really, really powerful. And I got 2-0'd my top 16 match by his teammate Jonathan. Now, granted, he even said, he won the die roll. He even said, he drew the nuts. Against me, he drew the best hand he had seen all day. And my hands weren't great. And we all know, even though I think their deck was far superior, I still think that mirror is one on the die roll. Because if I make him discard those cards, he's not going to be able to play. If you have the nuts. Right. If I have the nuts, he's not able to play this, and he had the nuts. Have fun, go nuts. And that's the deck that ended up winning. So, where am I trying to go with this? I think we were playing Turbo wrong, but I was also dead wrong about. I thought their build. I was like, man, that's really weird. I think that's kind of loose. That
I don't
might
think
not
we were
be
playing
good.
it wrong. I think ours was more one-dimensional, and that's why theirs was better.
Sure.
I think the idea is still the same. Because we got our idea from the Singapore build.
Yeah, absolutely.
And then we kind of tweaked that. Basically, just added Squall.
Pretty much.
And then they kind of further went on that and kind of reworked the deck to play the DGS package, which just gives you.
Well, it gives you searching. It gives you a shuffle. And the shuffle's huge. That's the big thing. And I was like, oh man, he gets to shuffle his deck. If his opener had 2 Squalls and cards he wanted to see in it.
He also played Laguna to get Squall.
Which was smart because you take the searches, you stack that, you put the search on the stack, and then you Gesper. So now you both have to discard, and now you get to search and keep your card. Just really, really smart sequencing. So I can't say enough good about that. Congratulations again. And top 8 was actually pretty diverse.
Yep.
We had an Earthwind, Warrior of Light.
Yep. That was Spencer.
Spencer. Shout outs to Spencer. For having a really, really great weekend of cards. And he also qualified for national. I believe the entire top 8 actually ended up being qualified, if I'm not mistaken.
I don't think it was the entire top 8, but
most
it was a good
them.
amount. Yeah.
We also had 2 of the Turbo Ice decks. We had some Scions in there. We had a...
Water Ice, Nidhogg, Granola.
Ice Water, Nidhogg, Okimoto. Yeah, so there's just really, really diverse decks. Really the big players currently in the meta, right?
Yeah, the 2 most interesting were definitely
and the Final Fantasy 2 of the Final Fantasy 2 decks, man. Yeah. That deck is just a treat to watch.
Yeah, it's pretty awesome. No one was prepared for that. People were prepared for Turbo, but not their version of Turbo. Mm-hmm. No one was prepared for anything remotely like what they were playing.
Yeah, that Final Fantasy 2 deck was just insanely good. And just really neat watching just that deck just accumulate value. Mm-hmm. They're just really, really neat forward choices. And then just you have Guy, who's just a mountain to get over.
Yep.
Emperor to shut things down. You have Shantoto. Sid allows you to get the colors you need when you need it to play the cards you need to play. And then when you're done with it, Furion can just break it. It's insane. The moving parts of that deck. It's like a symphony, right? There's just so many neat little things happening. The deck was so good. Now, granted, Turbo, just when you can't get your pieces going,
yeah, it kind of folded up.
It did, but it was a lot of fun. Poor Cody. Cody didn't have the greatest day because he made the critical error of not playing light blue cards.
Yeah, he even said so himself. Yeah, I don't think he's gonna do that going forward. But
but
his lightning deck was interesting though, and it was doing good in testing.
Yeah, absolutely. I think we were jamming some games. So after we finished recording the last episode of the podcast, I know we sound kind of rambly, but we're kind of telling the stories. Because Gencon was a lot of fun. The second half of Gencon was just as fun as the first half. After we recorded the podcast, we all ended up going out to dinner that night. Eric didn't join us. I think he had something he had to do. But the rest of us went out to dinner. We're splitting bottles of wine. We're getting balloon animals made. We're eating big old plates of spaghetti.
Check out Emo Tempest YouTube for the recap. He had that at the end, the girl making the balloon animals.
Yeah, we had her make a balloon chocobo for us, and then we also had her make a Moogle for us. It was really, really cool. So we're drinking drinks, we're eating a big old plate of spaghetti. We're hanging out. Then afterwards we go back to the convention center. It's cleaned out, but we go and jam some games. We just find a booth that's unoccupied. We're like, I'll just go sit here and play games. We end up jamming games for a couple hours. They almost got me to switch over from Turbo the day before to Andy's EX Burst deck, which I think the deck is really, really good. And we're not gonna talk about the secret pieces, but it was a really, really neat deck, and I definitely want to give it a shot. They almost convinced me. The wine almost took control, but I was like, man, I've been playing this for 20 minutes. It's probably do I play the deck I've been playing for 2 months or the deck I've been playing for 20 minutes? But either way, I made the right choice. I said made top 16. Really good weekend of cards. I really, really enjoyed hanging out with the community on this one.
That was the best part.
Because what was really cool, and this was, we were kind of upset. Turns out, like Greg Cole, Okimoto, like all those guys, Matt Rice, they were all like, they were staying
6 blocks up
like
the road.
6 blocks up the road from us. Because Greg invited us to hang out, after our flight was over, and shout outs to Greg. He's in the same boat I am, man. We're both trying to qualify. We both made top 16, and we were actually legit worried we were gonna have to play each other.
Yeah, I was worried for y'all too.
And I was just like, oh no, not like this, because the week before we were on the Choco Bros podcast, and we were just like, oh no, we can't go out like this. But I lost to Jonathan, Greg lost to Jordan, so we both got turboed in top 16. It was pretty unfortunate, but that was then. So then we go over there, and like as soon as and everybody's over there, Cody's over there, Irving's over there, Matt, Max Williams, like everybody's just over there hanging out, having Justin, like the whole gang is over there. As soon as I walk in the door, they like put me to work. They're like, "Oh look, you can play turbo discard. I need you to go sit over there with Irvin and test with him until you're blue in the face." And I was like, "Okay, as long as you get me a beer, I'll do whatever you want." So and I actually helped Irvin out because he ended up making top 4.
He qualified as well.
He did qualify. Congratulations to him, and he had to do it hard mode because he had to play turbo ice. Then turbo ice.
Yep.
And then he would have been in the finals. So he beat Jonathan, and then he lost to Jordan. Game 3, though. It took game 3.
Yeah, it's tough.
But, it was like just hanging out. I think we hung out till like 1, 2 in the morning. Just
we were there pretty late.
Just hanging out, shooting the shit, man. Like, the one thing I learned about Gencon, not only did I enjoy going there, because I'm a big avid board game fan, like I said on the last podcast. I got to go look at booths, got to try out a bunch of different games, but really got to hang out with the community on this one. Like, it's such a close-knit group.
It got me more excited for Nats.
Oh, yeah, for sure. Because
like, I think Nats is going to be awesome, just chilling. Because, I was there at Gen Con pretty much for Final Fantasy TCG. Mm-hmm. And I know it going in Nats, like, that's what everybody's going to be there for.
Yeah, there's no convention, holding, like, that can steal your attention. And you know me, man. I see something shiny, I'm like, oh, I want it.
Yeah, so, we had, like, the cool decks. A lot of cool stuff came out. Meta's going crazy places. I have no idea what's happening.
It's all over the place. There's a lot.
It's going to be really hard to test. I'm interested to see what comes out of the next couple tournaments for sure.
Because we do have the Seattle Crystal Cup, and it's so funny. Like we got so wrapped up in wanting to talk about stuff, and we're still amped from doing the other podcast. We didn't even go into the news, man. Because this whole podcast is news, man. Like we just have a lot to talk about.
So one thing I wanted to touch on is the side events. It was pretty sweet. So Kageyama played in like every side event.
It was really cool. I guess it was a trade-off because there were no gunslingers.
No gunslingers, which was a bit disappointing.
Well, they were busy. Like there was a lot happening.
But like the fact that he entered like all the sealed pools, he was playing in the Wolves Den, and if you beat him, you got like I never got the chance to like get matched because it was a bit of like RNG.
Yeah, it was the way Wolves Den is.
Greg got the sickest pulls. I think he like flipped like a foil Legend Elder Narsh and something else that was pretty decent. I think. Mm-hmm. So that was pretty dope. I didn't get to stick around for the whole Wolves Den, but I did play in the title tournament. Mm-hmm. Second place again, Final Fantasy VII.
Second place, boys.
But I got like a Zidane plushie and another box out of it, and it was fun. I lost to Joe.
Yeah,
Chocobo Joe. He convinced me to play. Actually, I wasn't gonna play. I was tired a lot of the weekend, and he was like, "Come on, man, play." And I was like, "All right, I'll play title." And I got second. So.
Well, it was because he wanted me to play too. He was like, "Oh yeah, you got to play today." He was like, I hope to see you in title, but I also don't hope to see you in title because if I don't, that means you made top cut.
Yep.
And yeah, y'all. But by the time my match was over, my top 16 match was super fast, by the way.
Yeah.
As that match is, but y'all are already like I think on your second round, so I was like, bah.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun. The side events are always a lot of fun.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, just the whole weekend experience was really, really great. And I'm because we were so busy and there was a lot going on, I didn't get a chance. I want to give a super, super, super special shout out to Rob, Santos, and Joe, the Charlotte guys that we got to stay with.
Yeah, they housed us. Well, we paid, but like they allowed us to stay.
Yeah, and we wanted to have them on an episode, but like we were all either drunk. We were all just on opposite times.
Yeah, the plan was to do 2 episodes there. We got a chance to do the one, and then it was just like we were exhausted.
Yeah, so I want to give those guys a very, very special shout out. We will have you on here, even if we have to phone it in, man, because you guys were a lot of fun. You guys were great. I think we used the word ranch at least 4,000 times.
Yeah, that word's going to die in a fire at some point.
It will never.
Hunter probably won't let it die, though.
No, he won't. And I won't let it die. I believe in the ranching.
I will say one more thing about Gen Con. That was, like, pretty humbling. People coming up to us and like asking us to sign things.
Dude, that was fantastic. And like I told when our top 16 match started, I was telling John, he was like, man, you guys talking a lot about ice kind of helped inspire us build this deck and da da da. And I was like, we appreciate what you do for the community. I was like, Jonathan, what you just said there, the fact that you get value out of what we do. I was like, that means more to me than any game you and I could play. Like that's such a humbling thing when someone's like, hey man, thank you for what you do. And we do it for you guys.
Yeah, I need to work on my autograph, man.
Oh, dude, mine is just a bunch of just birds and squiggles, man.
Yeah, I mean, it was. I mean, I knew Okiboto was gonna like bring our favorite cards to sign, which is a super dope idea. Like that, I want to see that finished product of like the community binder.
Oh, dude,
because I think that's such a good idea. I'm sorry that I ruined your foil card. I'm sure Chris is sorry that.
Oh man, I was like, man, you let me just butcher a $20 foil card. So I hope you didn't want to sell that foil saving, but
no, it's such a cool idea. And
it
then,
is, man.
I signed a couple of playmats. I know one guy came up to me. He was like, I know you don't know who I am, but like I know we all do, and I'd love if you sign my playmat. And I was like, yeah, sure, man, like anytime.
Like it's great, and I'm glad people get value out of what we do. Like we do it for you guys. Like we love this community so much, and we love each and every one of you that play. Like even the people that aren't that are like up and comers. Like another shout out to my man Tony from Wisconsin. He was there again, and he's always coming up to us wanting to play games and just hang out and just be just a really good personality and just representing his area very well. And we always appreciate that. We appreciate the recognition. We want to hang out with as many of you guys as possible. And like I said, we love each and every one of you. Like we got to. Hey, this is the first time I got to really meet a lot of the West Coast guys, and, and same with Matt Rice. I know he either does he live in the West Coast or he still live in Michigan?
I think he lives in Michigan. I'm not 100% sure.
Yeah, like this is the first.
Well, we were all at Boston, but it was like it never really like there was never that like moment where we all like hung out, and it finally that like Indy was like finally for that chance to happen. That's why I can't wait for Nats.
Yeah, it's gonna be a good time. And that's also a segue. Missed my qualifier there. We're just kind of just moving right along here. Gencon was fun. I urge anybody, if you're a fan of games, board games, go. But now we're going to get to some sad stuff. We had another local qualifier today. We have another tale of the tape, guys. Ended up going undefeated in Swiss. Won my top 8 match against Hunter Nance, which is never an easy task. And then I got turboed in top 4. So I'm still not qualified. But I told you that to tell you this. I'm not missing nationals. Even if I have to fly out the night before, I may need to crash at somebody's house. I'm like California, my West Coast friends, my Meta Potion crew. If anybody wants to house your boy for one night so I can play in this last chance qualifier, man, shoot me a message. I would be so happy and just so honored if somebody could let me just make a newspaper blanket, a little hobo bunk bed in the corner.
Bring your polio blanket.
Oh, dude, I got polio blankets for everybody. But I was on Mono Water Monsters this time. That's a deck that's kind of been when I wasn't playing Turbo. That's the other deck I was playing, and I think it's kind of been a culmination for me. Like typically, it's not my style of deck, but I've been playing it very well. Like the most reps I got out of it was at the Wolves Den at Gencon. I ended up racking up like 9 wins straight. Then I finally got dethroned by Jonathan Ciorda, and then I was just like, well, I need to go buy some stuff, so I'm just going to go back to brave the vendor hall one more time and buy some shit. So I was like, man, I think I want to play, because I knew the LQ was coming. I mentioned it, I believe, on the last podcast, that the LQ was coming up this weekend, and I was like, I think I'm going to, and then all week long I was testing, I was like, I think I want to play this, but I was so worried about the Turbo matchup. But, we jammed a bunch of games, saw a lot of looks. 4 of my 5 Swiss matches were actually ice. 2 of them were turbo, 2 of them were tempo. And I outplayed all of them. But, that's the thing about turbo. Sometimes it just gets you, and it got me when it mattered.
Yeah, I got turbo.
Yeah,
it's okay.
Where were you when you got turboed?
It's turbo time.
It's turbo time. But nobody likes booster, and I was booster for the day. But overall, again, another great qualifier. Big shout out to the guys down there at Game Theory.
Yeah, Joe, he had some help too, but Joe did a really good job.
Yeah,
and
Joe,
he's playing also, running and playing.
Yeah, he did it last time, and I think he's got the rhythm now. He did a really good job, and it's great seeing everybody Hunter and the Raleigh crew were really great. A lot of the guys from Virginia Beach came up. Danny, Trevor, Tanis, Steven, and Josh. They all came up. And then Steven, Curtis, and Jason came down from Fredericksburg. So, it was a good showing. We had, 20 people at this one, right around, 19, 20 people?
Something like that.
So, we've said it before, and I know we said it on the last podcast, that the qualifiers around here aren't easy. There's killers everywhere. And you can look at some of the bigger communities, like the San Diego qualifier that's going on today. There's a bunch of killers over there too.
Yeah, it's hard, and it's win or go home, man.
Yeah, it's believe me, and I've had to go home several times after thinking I was going to win.
Yep.
So it's tough. Oh man, but we'll get there. I know I'll get there. I know I'll be there at Nationals. So we're just gonna ride this out, man. It happens because I know Zach Burrell of the Choker Bros played in a qualifier.
I think he played in one in Atlanta.
Yeah, and unfortunately for him, it ended up the same way as I did, undefeated in Swiss and lost in top 4.
I think so, yeah.
But I know he's a trooper. He's a great player, and he's gonna keep his head up. And just like I'm gonna keep my head up, and I'm gonna go back to the drawing board, and we're gonna get ready for the next one.
Yep.
So, but yeah, I mean. I know it sounds like we're kind of rambling here, but there's just been a lot going on. We've been doing a lot of testing. I know I've been doing a lot of testing this week.
I'm trying to figure out what I'm doing. I have no idea what I'm doing for Nats, man.
Yeah.
Well, I'll figure it out, but
I think now I've got maybe 1-2 more qualifiers before Nats comes around, so I've got a couple more chances, but I think I need to start looking at the big picture because even if I don't qualify I'm still going.
Right.
Because I want to go hang out with everybody, and I know there's been murmurs of a local card shop doing an event
they'll
for the
get something together, and hopefully they change their mind and they let everyone in.
Yeah,
that would be the perfect thing.
Mm-hmm.
But it might not happen. I'm not sure. There might be some more logistics that we just don't know.
Yeah, I mean it happens, but everybody wants to be a part of it. The community wants to celebrate. Nationals is a celebration of everything we've worked for, ever since last year. The community's grown immensely, and there's just a lot of neat stuff to do. And I'm just gonna be excited to be in LA. I've never been out to the West Coast.
Me neither. I've never been that far out.
Yeah, Vegas is about as far out. Well, no,
Same.
technically I have been to California, but the tip of California where you can go to Pim, Nevada, and you're just oh cool, you can be in Arizona right here, then you can be in California there, but that doesn't count.
Vegas is the closest I've been to. But yeah, I also played in the LQ today. I didn't do that great. I got kind of tired toward the end. I've been pretty exhausted. I have a little bit of a cough.
Yeah, for some reason we can't go to these conventions without coming back with something.
I'm not sick. I don't feel sick, but But yeah, I was on Scions. I feel like I did okay. I did pretty well. Game 1 against Joe.
Mm-hmm.
He ended up making top 8. Then game 2, I played a close game against Steven, and he harassed Vogard to skip my attack phase.
Oh, smart stuff.
And then that put me... I win that turn.
Mm-hmm.
Even if he doesn't able to swing out, I still win the following turn if I'm able to attack.
Mm-hmm.
But that prevented me from attacking and let him set back up, and then I was just done. And then after that, I got turboed in about 5 seconds.
Mm-hmm.
It didn't take very long. I think I kept a bad hand. That's on me. Then I managed to get back to 2-2. In the last match, I played Curtis, and at that point, fatigue was kicking in. And I think Curtis would have won anyways, but I did misplay a couple times.
Oh, yeah, the infamous Dragon Pour and Play of 2018.
Yeah, I played around a card, and then the very next turn, played into the same card like an idiot.
With the same card.
With the same card. Yeah, and then at that point I realized I was like, man, I'm really tired. So yeah. I don't think even if I win that, I make the top cut anyways, because there was a couple 3 and 2s that didn't make it in.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the bubble was pretty big.
Yeah, and I think I still won't get in. Yeah, and then I watched you play. We played some stuff on the side.
Yeah, and what's unfortunate, these LQs now after having this happen to me 3 times in a row. Now I know what Wile E. Coyote feels like, right? You're just man, you got the perfect setup. You've got your Acme catapult, you got your rock, you pull the string, and the whole goddamn catapult just flips over on top of you. And
then the trophy grows legs.
And then the trophy grows legs and goes beep beep and just peels out with somebody else. So that's been my LQ journey. But here's the thing. organized play has come a long way. And with that, I'm grabbing my polio blanket and we're gonna put it on our laps here. We're gonna wheel ourselves over to the fire and kind of stare into it for a second. One of the things we saw at Gencon, and I know it sparked a little bit of some heated discussions about like round timing, slow play.
I think it's
and rules enforcement.
It's a hard subject, but I think it needs to be addressed.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like it's kind of our place. Like we should be the ones, or at least we should be some of the ones that do it. I think other people should do it as well too. So
it was weird that the top cut rounds were timed. Like 90.
It's always been the case, right? Like all of the Crystal Cups top rounds have been tied, and even if we don't agree with that, that's just kind of the case.
Sure.
However, since they're tied, I feel like there needs to be some kind of enforcement on slow play, and I feel like what's happening is, and I'm not blaming anyone. Like I think it's just a.
But the game's technical. Sometimes there's lines you have to stop and think.
Well, I mean, what's the word I'm looking for? It's like a growing pain, right?
Sure.
Of the game. So I think right now the way it works is like if slow play is happening, you have to be vocal and tell the judge that like, hey, I just wanted to speed up or something, because like otherwise they're not gonna like butt in. Mm-hmm. But I mean, I did see at Gen Con like judges were walking around tables and like watching game states, and if something happened, they would be like, no, you know, that's wrong. You need to go back, and this is why this happened. Do you understand? That happened in one of my games.
Sure.
And I think that's fine, because they should be judging board states like that.
They're actively kind of got the eagle eye on the field.
Yeah, and I'm totally fine with that, and I think that's how it should be. But if that's how it's going to be, you also that needs to happen with slow play as well. Mm-hmm. And I feel like people knew that, and I'm not sure. I don't want to blame anyone at all. I don't think it's anyone's fault. But I mean, there was the unfortunate stuff that happened in top 16 where a game went to like sudden death time and was lost because of it. Mm-hmm. And that just feels really bad.
Yeah, especially when, when you were. I don't know if he was vocal and said something. But hey, I need.
I don't know either because I wasn't there.
Right. I just hear the aftermath, and but here's the thing: the reason we're bringing it up is this isn't the first time we've heard about slow play. That's the problem.
And I'm not blaming it on the person that's. I mean, if you're playing slow on purpose, that's wrong.
Yes.
Like if you're doing it to milk the clock because that's the only way that you can win, that's technically not legal. Like
you're cheating.
I think, and I've heard people like I think you said from Magic is if you don't like affect the board state within like 60 seconds or something like that.
60, 75, 90 seconds.
Then you have to do something, or
you get like a warning or something like that.
And like I feel like something needs to be done, especially if you're going to continue to time these rounds. I usually don't have trouble because. And this could just be bad for me. Like, I typically play my speed.
Yeah.
Now, I have had people that play typically slower than me, and I've gone close to time a couple times. I typically play slow decks, and I don't really come close to time, just because I'm kind of familiar with what I'm supposed to be doing, and I kind of just go. Mm-hmm. And I usually, like play my gut play. I'm pretty confident in, like, my line.
Sure.
But that's not always the case. Sometimes I have to go in the tank, too.
But you're not going to take 3.5 minutes.
Well, that's the thing. You can't. Like, you just can't. Like, you have to be respectful to your opponent too, and understand that both of you are sharing a timer. Mm-hmm. And it should like.
Yeah, it's not like a chess clock where
you shouldn't be playing to go to time. Like that's just not. You don't do that.
Especially in a 2 out of 3 set. Whereas if you somehow take game 1 and you just milk out game 2, you're just going to win by default, and then that's not fair. Yeah, that is not fair to somebody.
And it's not on the play. The thing is, like, there's no one to blame really. I just feel like it's something that needs to be said. And that's also kind of just indicative of like the organized play needs to be a little bit more. Like you're here in a competitive environment. The competitive people want to be in a competitive REL environment, right? Yeah. Like, we want to have, especially when you get to top cut, especially when, people are playing for buys, they're playing for a chance to go to the U.S. Nationals, for the chance to go to Worlds. Like, you want to make sure that, not only you're playing your best and, and fairly, and if you're making a mistake, you want to make sure the judge is there to call you on it. Like cheating isn't like a foul that doesn't get called in basketball. Like, if you're cheating, you're being malicious about it. Exactly, yeah.
And, like, this, I know just from talking to people in this community, there's zero place for that here. Like
don't get me wrong, this community's awesome. It's just something we felt like needed to be said.
Yeah.
And we hope that if it's my personal vote, I would like Top Cut to just be untimed. And if that's not feasible, maybe 90 minutes.
Yeah. Yeah, an extra 20 minutes goes a long way. An extra 20 minutes is enough time for that third game. And it's tough. And again, we don't want to sound like we're pointing fingers because this isn't the only.
I'm not pointing fingers at anyone.
Because this isn't the only instance. This is probably the most high-profile instance of it happening. Because I've seen it at other Crystal Cups. I've seen it at other tournaments where they're trying to milk the clock just for the sake of just trying to scum their opponent out. And I get it. The game is technical. You have to think about your plays, what you're discarding. But at what point are you just slow rolling it?
I mean, if it goes to time, it goes to time, right? If it naturally goes to time.
But if you can show that both players made their best effort to play at a reasonable pace, especially if it's a matchup where there's two control decks, I get it. I have watched many control mirror snooze fest where it's this is the worst bullshit I could watch. I might as well just go watch paint dry on the wall. But at the same time, those players are both still. And the thing about this, if you go to time in Swiss, it's a double loss.
Yep.
Nobody and I don't mean just that nobody wins there. But I mean, you hurt. If you don't find a clear winner,
you kind of hurt.
You hurt both people because your tiebreakers suck. Their tiebreakers suck, and at that point, you're kind of again scumming someone else out. Now, granted, I get it. Maybe sometimes there is not a clear winner, and the best taking the double loss is never the best option.
Yeah, mathematically, it's just not.
But then when you get that 2 out of 3. There is no double loss. You can't do that. Somebody has to move forward. So now you have the opportunity to slow play somebody with no consequences, essentially.
And then if it's game 2, whoever won game 1 just wins.
Yeah.
And if it's game 3 and health is tied, it goes to sudden death. I get why the rules are there, and I get why you want to time things. I just wish they were untimed. And I understand if it's a time constraint thing. I get it.
Sure.
I get it. If there is a time constraint thing, then I think slow play penalties need to be enforced.
But also too, and I'm not just going to pin it on if you feel like you're being slow rolled against and someone's taking their time against you, be a good player. Just say, hey man, I need you to speed up. I need you to say it however you can do tactfully.
I think that's the first way to do it, right?
It is. You have to let them know that, because also at that point you're letting them know hey, I'm trying to win here. I'm seeing that you're taking time for plays that don't need to be. You don't need all this time to play this 2 CP backup.
Yeah, I think the first thing is hey man, can we speed it up? We're on the clock. Not trying to be mean.
Okay, man, we got 3 games to play and we've got 30 minutes left.
And then after that, if it continues, I think you just have to call a judge.
Yeah,
and you have to be Judge. I feel
he's consistently taking.
It needs to be early in the match too, and maybe that's what happened. I don't really know.
You just have to say, hey, Judge, he's taking 3 minutes plus consistently every turn, and I want to make sure we have the chance to play the entire match. You have, and it's nothing personal. You're in a competitive environment. If you don't want to play that way, don't play competitively.
Yep.
And that's all we're going to say on that. We have these. The competitive play has come a long way, but we want to make sure we have.
And like I said, I think it's just a growing pain.
It is, and I don't want. We talked about toxicity a couple weeks ago. I want to make sure that just trying to scum somebody else out by taking advantage. This isn't a fighting game. In a fighting game, we always go back. In a fighting game, the clock is a resource.
Oh, this is completely different. Yeah, the clock's not a resource in the card game. It's just not.
It's. I mean, really, it's
meant to make the players play at a timely pace.
Yeah, like a chess clock.
Yeah.
Yeah, but here. I don't want to sound again. I sound like I'm rambling a lot today. We've had a lot going on. We've done 2 podcasts. We played in LQ. My brain's fried.
Yeah, I'm tired.
But we want people to just be good to each other in this community. We can really set a precedent in a card game.
I want someone to call me out on it. Even if I'm sitting in the tank for 5 minutes. If I'm in the tank for 5 minutes, and I'm hoping that I would never do that. So if I'm just doing it because I'm thinking and it's a really hard play. If someone's hey man, you need to speed it up. And I look over and I've taken 5 to 7 minutes off the clock, then that's on me.
Yeah, and I also feel, and it's one of those things. I urge everybody to just sit still with no noise, no nothing, just sit there for 30 seconds. It'll feel like an eternity. So I know when I'm making plays, and like today I had a couple moments where I'm like making a play, and if I thought I was taking too long, I'd be like, hey man, I'm sorry, I'm just trying to figure this out. And they're like, nah, dude, it's fine. You haven't been taking that long. Because like to me, I feel like if I'm stopping to think about some things, that I'm shaving time off the clock. But then I turn around and look at the clock, it's only been like 25 seconds.
Yeah.
So like you have all the time in the world. You just have to be cognitive of the time you're taking, and also be cognitive of the time you're buying. Because I'm like, me and Hunter in top 8 played a very grindy match. Every time he's like, "Hey, sorry, I'm just trying to," and I'm like, "Dude."
Yeah, that's usually my first reaction too.
And even though we were untimed, he's still like, "Hey, sorry, I gotta figure." He's like, "This is awkward. I gotta figure this out." And I'm like, "Man, take your time. My shit's awkward too. We're good. We'll figure this out." But that's all. That just goes back to being a decent human being and a decent card player. Like, yes, at the end of the day, we are playing competitively. Just don't be a shithead.
Yeah, and I think these things will get better.
They 100%
once we get like a judge 100%. Program, and like we have people, and then we'll have like maybe like you can have like these warnings and stuff. I don't feel like that's really like set in stone right now.
Yeah.
And I'm not. I know some people might look at this like trying to punish players or whatever. It's not about that. It's just about like
keeping it fair,
creating a fair
and keeping honest people honest,
competitive environment.
Yep, and keeping honest people honest.
Yeah,
that's what we want, and because it's all in the spirit of fair play.
Yep,
that's the best way to describe it. And we're going to end that on that. So if you agree with us, sound off in the comments when we post these on Facebook or on YouTube. If you disagree, and maybe you see it from a different side, maybe you feel the clock is a resource for you to abuse. Tell us your rationale behind that. I like to hear both sides of the coin. Like we're not always right. We're not always perfect. We've been doing this a very long time. We've been doing card games a very long time. So we've kind of seen. We've seen it abused and we've seen it used properly, and we want to make sure that with this game being as young as it is, that we're off to the right foot, or right off on the right foot, I should say. And so far we are.
Yeah.
Other than maybe like a nitpick here, a nitpick there.
Yeah. I mean, like I said, I'm not trying to dumpster anything at all. Like I've had fun going to all the Crystal Cups.
Oh, dude, I've had a blast going to these events. And again, the community is great. Like I like just walking up to random people saying, "Hey, man, how you doing?" Oh, where you're? I like the conversation because again, in this game, with this game in particular, you innately have a common bond with your opponent. Chances are you both love Final Fantasy.
Yeah.
You might have that rare occasion where it's like, "Oh, I've never played the games, but I've always I watched my brother play them or whatever." Like there's always. Everybody who plays this game probably has a Final Fantasy story they can tell somewhere. And let's just be decent to each other. So with that being said, Gencon was a blast. Today's LQ was a blast. Now we're looking to the future. Again, I've said it before, and I've gone to 3 Crystal Cups now. If you're playing this game, and even if you enjoy it casually, I urge you to go to a Crystal Cup event, go to a Square sanctioned event, just because even if you don't play in the main event, there's side events. The community's always doing stuff. There's gunslinger events. You had Kageyama jumping into side events with people. Like, when he sat down for Sealed, I watched people's faces light up like, holy shit.
Yeah, it was dope.
The creator of the game is going to sit here, crack open some packs with us, build a sealed deck, and play some games.
Yeah, that's funny. I mean, I got to take my picture with him when I got second and Sealed, and I think he was about as tired as I was.
Yeah, dude. It's just such a cool community. So even if you're not a competitive player, or you feel like you're not, and we're not going to dive into that side. We did talk a lot about the meta and competitive play, and the mindset on our. I want to say a sister podcast, but they're more a brother podcast. Yeah, doesn't matter. They're our family. Their podcast. We talked a lot about that, but there's something for everybody, every level of play of this game.
Yeah.
You like casual, you love title. Guess what? There's title events. There was 2 title tournaments. There was a pauper tournament, which I wanted to play in, but I had the option. I was like,
yeah, it was the same. We chose dinner.
Yeah, we chose dinner with the gang over pauper.
I think that was the right decision, honestly.
It was. We're going to start, nurturing pauper in our community here, because there's a lot of people that are interested and do want to play it. These alternate formats are a lot of fun. And again, if if you're not a fan of like the hyper competitive play, embrace Pauper, embrace Title, because you're going to have some really, really neat the formats are super diverse.
Just embrace everybody in your community.
Correct.
So like you're going to have all levels of play, all types of players. And the best way to like make a great game and a great community is like everybody's enjoying it, not just one type.
Exactly. And I think with that, our brains are pretty fried today. We're probably going to go ahead and sign off. So this is a little bit of a shorter episode, a little bit more kind of rambly at first.
I'll say one more thing before we leave. I know we got to do that.
We do it every time. I just kind of just pick a moment. I pick my window, and I know it's going to open right back up.
So I'm not sure if this is going to be after our next podcast or before. We have a big tournament next Sunday.
We do, yes. We have the Soldier Showdown next Sunday. We will be streaming it. I completely forgot because, again, brain's fried. We'll be streaming it. I urge anybody who's in the surrounding Virginia areas. Man, I know the Pennsylvania guys are talking about coming, man. We would love to have you.
It would be dope if like everybody comes down. We have this big like 30, 40-man tournament. That would be so awesome.
We got some really cool prizes in addition to like the store support. I've got a... Static Arts Sephiroth bust. It was like a trophy for the first player. I've got a Mog 11 plush for second place.
There might be some raffles too. I might be bringing some things to raffle off.
We'll have some things to raffle off. We've got some promos. I've got a couple Warrior of Light promos.
May have some Gencon boxes for people.
Oh yeah, a couple Gencon boxes. We've got some tote bags. So it's going to be a nice.
Plenty of produce bags.
No, yeah, I could do everybody's grocery shopping with the amount of those bags I have, and also too. We are streaming the event. I've already said I'm going to forego playing, so you can catch your boy on the mic. I will be running commentary.
I'll probably also be foregoing playing if we get enough entrants. If not, I'll probably enter to make it like an even number or something. Mm-hmm. But ideally, I'm going to be behind the scenes, running the stream, maybe commentating.
Yeah, we want to do this. We'll
also have some special news during the event as well.
Yeah. I know we kind of alluded to that on the Turks podcast, but we're cooking up something really special.
Well, that and something else too.
Do I know what this is?
You do.
I do. I'm probably just forgetting it right now, aren't I?
Yeah, you are.
Excellent.
It's fine. Just tune in and you'll see.
Yeah, because I think I need to tune in because I don't remember what this is. I'm telling you, it's been a long day. But so yeah, I mean, again, as always, thanks for listening. Please, we're gonna obviously post about it throughout the week. Tune in on Sunday. We'll post all the details. Watch us on Twitch. Watch our stream. Feel free to hang out with Be Chat Monsters with us. See some really good play. Maybe even see some terrible play. We'll have all your angles covered. So with that being said, we're going to go ahead and sign off. We will see you guys next week. Again, check us out. Check out the Fredericksburg Turks as well.
Yep. See you later.
Hey, everybody. Thanks for listening once again to the RVA Returners podcast. If you like this content and you want to hear more, check us out on YouTube at RVA Returners. And make sure you follow us on SoundCloud and check us out on Google Play and iTunes.